Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. My name is Dave Murray of the DiJulius Group, and I am here as part of the Speaker Spotlight Series. This is the show that we do every year in preparation for the Customer Service Revolution Conference. It gives me the opportunity to have a chat with some of the brilliant speakers that we are going to have at the conference. This year, the conference is September 11th and 12th in Cleveland, Ohio, September 2019, and we'll talk about tickets. If you don't have them yet, you're going to want to get them soon. We were just talking, they're going quickly, so we'll get to that in just a minute. But first, I want to take a moment to introduce my guest today. I am so pleased to have Patricia Fripp with me today. I've known Patricia for a few years now. I always look for the opportunity to chat with her, to work with her. So let me tell you a little bit about Patricia before I give her first word here. So Patricia has built such an amazing career. She's actually an American success story, which is funny because she's British. So a couple of things about Patricia in her career that's just so amazing. So she's a Hall of Fame speaker. And yes, there is a Hall of Fame for speakers, and there are some amazing people in it. She's also won the Cabot Award. And the Cabot Award, for those of you that do not know, it is the Oscars of speaking. She is the first woman president of the National Speaker Association, and that is a 3,500 member group of speakers. So you know that it takes a lot to get your word heard in that group, right, Patricia? Also, she is an in-demand executive speech coach and sales presentations guru. As a matter of fact, Kiplinger's Finance magazine said one of the best things you could do for your career is to invest in training from Patricia Fripp. And lastly, she's everywhere with Fripp VT, so Fripp Virtual Training. She is literally everywhere. As a matter of fact, the last time you and I chatted, Patricia, you had just gotten off a virtual presentation with the group in Berlin, and then you and I had a chance to have a conversation. So you literally are everywhere, and I am proud to call myself a student of Patricia. I've learned so much from our opportunities to work together. So please help me welcome Patricia Fripp to our show. Patricia, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure, Dave.
It's so great to have you here. And you have had, as I mentioned at the top, you've had such an amazing career. I was wondering if we can start there. Can you kind of share how you got from where you were to what you do today?
When I arrived in America at 20 with no job, nowhere to live, didn't know anyone, had $500 and knew everyone in America was rich, and the streets were paved with movie stars. And I have not been disappointed. I was a hairstylist and I worked in the Mark Hopkins Hotel, and I met movie stars and people from all over the world. And then a turning point at age 23, I became one of the first women in men's hairstyling when it was a new industry. And from there, I started traveling nationwide for a hair product company, talking to hairstylists, not only demonstrating haircuts, also showing and talking about how you build your business and your staff and you sell products and you promote your business. And the speaking part was so popular that a lot of my executives said, oh, come speak to my Rotary Club, Kiwanis Club. Can you speak at my staff meeting? And I realized that speaking before groups was a great way to promote my business. And I did more. People started saying, what would you charge? I went to the National Speakers Association and saw the vision of what was possible in the future. Well, so when I launched my speaking career full-time, what I was doing, Dave, was talking about how to get, keep, and deserve customers, because this is what I was doing superbly well in my business. How do you promote your business? And after being a keynote speaker for many years, as most of us find, Dave, our customers will tell us what they want from us. And they started asking, can you coach our executives on their presentations? And one national sales manager said, I loved your speech. However, I loved how you delivered it. Can you teach our salespeople to speak that way? Because it takes us a year to be in a position to deliver an hour presentation for a hospital board, and we are losing business. It has nothing to do with our offering or our pricing. It has to do with the fact that our competitors deliver better presentations than we do. So listening to my customers, I have evolved. So although I still give speeches, as I will at the Customer Revolution conference, I spend a good portion of my life helping executive sales teams, engineers, even some celebrity speakers improve their presentations.
And that's so important, because whether you realize it or not, we all present, right? Even if it's just trying to sell your idea internally at a corporate meeting, at one of your internal meetings, we're all presenting all the time, and we really need to give it the focus that it needs.
Yes, I often say to audiences, outside the privacy of your own home, all speaking is public speaking. There is no private speaking. Perhaps you need to redefine what speaking is. If it's you're standing in the office, perhaps you're building cafeteria, the conversation you have with the chief financial officer as you're carrying your tray through the line is public speaking.
Right.
Say something that could be remembered and have impact on your career. You could meet somebody who is on your board of directors in the elevator. In fact, one of the exercises I do at some of my sessions is, who is the most important person you might be in the elevator of your building? If you got on the second floor and this person was there, you got to the 14th floor to make an impact, what would you say? Because although we all have prepared presentations, we run team meetings, we might be reporting to the chairman of the board, we might be training, we might have some presentation at a conference in our industry. Most of our presentations are frequent and unplanned. Oh, Dave, I didn't know you're going to be at this meeting. Can you come up and give us 10 minutes on what your division is doing? So I teach people techniques to be permanently prepared. So you might have from the 6th floor to the front of the room, but in your back pocket, in the back of your mind, you have opening lines and frameworks on how you can put together remarks, because that's often how you get the reputation. Wow, we didn't even know he was going to be on the agenda, and he was amazing.
Yeah, as you're speaking that, I'm thinking to myself, I know a lot of people in that meeting setting probably sit there in fear. Don't call on me, don't call on me. But in your world, after you're trained, you want people to be upset they didn't get called on because,
yes,
right?
Yes. And in case anyone is in that situation, imagine you are called to speak at your company, especially if it's front of executives, and you always have a great default position. This is what I call back pocket phrases. You might walk up and say, thank you for the opportunity to update you on our marketing activities. On behalf of the ambitious, dedicated 6-person marketing team, you will be excited to know that since you challenged us to, these have been our successes. This was a setback. This is what we've done about it. And the next time we report, you can look forward to hearing this. So that's just a simple framework. But thank you for the opportunity too. And if you are part of a team, you are speaking on behalf of the team, so bring them with you. But give them an adjectives. Are they ambitious? Are they dedicated? Are they committed? Are they brilliant? What would you talk about your team? And this should be prepared. I'm a great believer, Dave. It's better to be prepared and not have the opportunity than have the opportunity and not be prepared. Because when you live in a world of permanent preparation, it is amazing how opportunities present themselves. Or you find, look, nobody's in charge of this meeting. I'm going to step up and run it.
Right. We got to get something done here. Permanent preparation. I really, really like that concept. That's fantastic. So my next question for you, Patricia, is this. You know that here at the DiJulius Group, we're constantly working with our clients to improve their customer experience, the customer experience that they are delivering. Now, we know that that experience is important both for external customers and for their internal customers, their team members, their employees. And one of the things that I love that you talk about is that the best way for companies, for leaders to truly inspire and motivate their team members is through storytelling.
Yes.
And I know you're going to talk about that a little bit when you're at the Customer Service Revolution Conference. So I don't want you to give too much away, but my first question on that is if you're a leader of an organization and you haven't done that yet, where do you even start? Do you have any tips on how you start that process?
When I work with an executive, my first questions are always the same. Where were you born? What did your parents do? What advice did they give you? I always go back to the beginning. And I like to talk through a time frame of their life. And I promise you, without exception, in the first 5 minutes of conversation, I find what is an inciting incident. If it was a movie, that is the moment of which there is turning back. There is a moment that clearly defines where they are now. For example, I was working with a tech executive and they had just bought one of their competitors. So 40% of the salespeople at this sales meeting had not chosen to work for the company. They were acquired. And anybody who's ever been acquired knows it really is a horrific experience. You don't know if you're going to have a job, who your boss is going to be, you're going to have to relocate. It's a horrible time. So they had 1,500 people at this meeting. And they said, we're a $2 billion software company with aspirations being 20 billion. We need everybody to know they're the right company at the right time and our strategy is sound. So as I'm getting to know this executive, and he was talking about the strategy, I said, Bernard, when was the first time you learned the importance of strategy? And he said, it was when I was a 14-year-old ball boy before the French Open. And people came in and they didn't realize they were going to see a match of the ball boys. And in this case, our ball boy was a girl. It was the sister of my best friend. And we were equally matched, but she wanted her brother to win. And so she was sabotaging the balls. So he said, Patricia, that was the moment I understood the importance of strategy when you are equally matched with your competitors and you're at a disadvantage. And I said, oh, you've got to tell this story. And he asked me, Dave, what most executives ask. Do people really want to hear these personal stories? And I always say yes, because they will respect your position as president. However, if they can see the person behind the position, they are more likely to fight in the street, work late, and be more inspired to action and commitment if they see you, the person. Just last week, I was working with an executive at Oracle, and he's delivering a presentation for important customers. And we found the moment, and this was just in conversation, he really got inspired to do what he is now doing when he was at college, and his professor was not much older than they were, but he was brilliant and he was so excited about data and he inspired. So that was the moment from this young professor who inspired him. So you can always find a moment in your life that ties into what the message is now. But yes, stories are a great way to communicate lofty ideals, to help them better understand their leader. Or if you want to inspire customer service, tell stories about what good service is and what bad service is, and what lessons can we learn when we personally are consumers that we can bring back to the job that we have.
I love the concept that you shared of the person behind the position. That's so important. People need to relate, and that's such a great way to get there. And I agree with you 100% on the stories. As a matter of fact, when we launch any project with a client of ours, we are big proponents of having Huddle, so they can gather their teams and share those stories. And we always remind people too, because sometimes that story gathering is very, very difficult. We always remind our clients that a good story is a good story. It doesn't matter if it was at a different branch, a different location, a different department. If it's a good story under your corporate umbrella, it's a good story. So share it and really get the ball rolling, because I find that storytelling, but like a lot of things, can become a little contagious. If you're doing it well, you can build some momentum and really keep it going.
Yeah, I work a lot with sales teams. And of course, the happy customer example, what was their challenge? What solution did you offer? And what is the success in, of course, and you tell it in the customer's words. And I say, I don't care if you're a brand new salesperson, if you don't have your own success stories. These are company success stories. You don't say, I sold this customer. But when Dave called and said, help, this was his challenge, and we went in and did this, it doesn't matter. It wasn't you personally who did it. So I'm totally in agreement. Company stories are company stories. You can tell them even if you weren't involved.
Absolutely. Another thing I want to ask you about, Patricia, and if anyone's been on your website, they've seen these. They're great. I love them. They are your Fripp Isms. Right. Yeah. Basically what Fripp Isms are, if people aren't aware, they are your advice, the things that you've learned over time in a tweetable format, right? Someone can put it on Twitter, it'll fit, and share it if it really resonates with them. One of my favorite Fripp Isms, and anyone can find those, by the way, at fripp.com. That's your website. So if they wanted to check them out, they could. One of my favorite Fripp Isms, and I don't remember it word for word, but it goes along the lines of, I don't judge companies by the CEO or by the people that are flying the corporate jet. I judge a company by the person who's answering the phone and carrying my bag. And that's so true, because that service, that purpose, all those things that make a great company, they have to trickle down throughout the entire organization. But I'm curious about that particular one, because as I was reading it, I kind of got to thinking, was there one or two specific instances that really made that pop into your mind?
Well, I will remember once I was in Hawaii, and I'm just like you and John, you're always looking for new stories, and stories come from asking good questions. And I had a shuttle service from my hotel to the airport. And this was not owned by the hotel. So I said, well, I bet people really tell you what they think about their experience at these hotels because they know you don't work for them. And he said, oh, yes. In fact, once a month, the general manager of the property where you were staying invites the drivers in for coffee and donuts. And while we're eating his donuts, we tell him not only all the stories we hear from his guests, we tell him all the stories we hear from guests of other hotels, his competitors. And that's what I call a box of donuts consulting. That hotel could spend, they could bring in a consulting firm, spend $250,000 survey, and they wouldn't get as much up-to-date anecdotal information as inviting people like the drivers who talk to their guests and the guests of their competitors and just retell the stories. And most of us, we all spend a lot of time in hotels and traveling and airports and bus services. And we rarely meet the general manager of a hotel. We don't meet the sales manager unless we're bringing a conference there. but we do know if the maids say, "Good morning," as you're walking to the elevator. We know if someone is smart enough, a bellman is smart enough to look at the name on our luggage when they pull it in, and then almost have a nod or something, so the person behind the desk can say, "Welcome back, Miss Fripp," because it's and a lot of these systems that good hotels have, it's not necessarily technology. It's as simple as look at your name tag. Have you been to our hotel before? And so the desk clerk knows to say, "Welcome back." It's these small experiences that build up to really a relationship with a company that you would have loyalty, beyond the fact that we all know loyalty programs work with points. But you don't ever want someone to say, "Well, I fly this airline because I got the points, but they're miserable. I wish I got the points with another airline."
So true. So true. And, I find myself walking through hotels, and like you, I stay in hotels quite often. I find myself walking around hallways, and I get excited when I or I'm about to pass someone on the staff, because I want to see what's going to happen. You can judge so much about a specific hotel just on that reaction as you're passing someone who's providing a service, cleaning, or whatever it is that they're doing in that hallway. If you're just walking to the elevator, it's so telling about that organization, how they operate. So I have to ask you, do you have a couple of favorite Frippisms? There's a lot of them. Do you have a couple of favorites?
Yes. Life is a series of sales situations, and the answer is no if you don't ask. Now, this is where it comes to customer service. If life is a series of sales situations, the real sale comes after the sale. So, for example, you might sell me on bringing my conference to your hotel. You might sell me on, well, I would say on this, bringing your birthday banquet to our restaurant. The real sale is after the sale, after you've made the decision and you're there. How do you work hard to have earned the yes, I will give you my business? And then, of course, I also have Robert Fripp Frippicisms. Now, my brother Robert Fripp is an internationally renowned guitarist. His band King Crimson, it's their 50th anniversary. Yeah. They just played at the Royal Albert Hall last week.
Wow.
One of his that I incorporate in my life is discipline. Not an end in itself, but a means to an end. And his company is called Discipline. And I often, if I'm working on a project that is big, that is more time consuming than, I'm a short-term project person working on big projects. So I'll often wear that shirt, Discipline, not an end in itself, but a means to an end. So that's another. And then I like to quote the great philosopher Raquel Welch, who said, "Style is being yourself, but on purpose." And then this is not exactly a Frippicism, but it's someone I quote, so I take it as a Frippicism. Dolly Parton said, "When I was young and poor, I wanted to be rich and famous. And I promised myself, if ever I was, I would never complain about anything." And I remember one of my friends on Facebook was complaining, "I got bumped from first class." And I just made the notation. What was the fee they were paying you when you get there? Get over it. If you are doing, this is another Frippicism. We do what we have to do what we want to do. And don't bitch and complain if you've got a 2-hour delay. That's part of travel. Take a thriller with you.
Right. There's always use for that time somewhere.
Oh, yes. So maybe if you're frustrated, you don't want to do your work. You could catch up on your work, but that's why you have a thriller, because the time will go fast if you're reading a good book.
Yes, absolutely. And I want to remind our viewers that they can check out all of these great Frippisms at your website, fripp.com. It's a wealth of information. I highly recommend people go check it out. Now, Patricia, the last question I have for you today is focusing back on the Customer Service Revolution Conference. And as you know, at our conference, we have business owners and business leaders from really across the globe, primarily North America, but they come from across the globe. And the one thing they have in common is they understand the importance of customer experience. They're typically bought in. They understand that this is something that's important to their business. So knowing that, what's the one or two things that you're most excited about sharing with that audience?
I am going to share examples of how they can tell stories to inspire action and commitment, and how to encourage their team members to, when they are in their everyday life, how they can get in the habit of looking for the lesson in everyday customer service situations when they are the customer, and then to encourage them as part of their format for the internal meetings, how to encourage everybody to share these experiences to find what is the lesson learned from this that we can apply to our business. They will learn formulas and principles on how to make it part of their everyday life. And they'll hear some great stories.
I know they will. I've been able to sit with you before in person and virtually and hear some fantastic stories. Our attendees are in for a real treat with you being at the Customer Service Revolution Conference this year, Patricia. Thank you so much for your time. Before I let you go, I want to remind all our viewers that if they have not purchased their tickets yet, the Customer Service Revolution Conference is in beautiful downtown Cleveland, Ohio. This year it's September 11th and 12th, 2019. Now there are still tickets available. You do have to hurry because they are going quickly, but there are still tickets available, and you can visit customerservicerevolution.com for all of the information you would need and to actually purchase your tickets right there. So I would encourage everyone to do that if you have not done so already. Patricia, thank you so much for joining us. It's always incredible to spend some time with you. I really, really enjoyed today and all the times that we've had to work together. And I'm already looking forward to working with you again and seeing you at the Customer Service Revolution Conference. Thanks for being here.
All right. Thank you. Look forward to it.
All right. Thanks for joining us today, everybody. We'll see you next time on the Speaker Spotlight.